Okay, so now we will talk about doing the core key to fix some of this issues we have with the holes. And don't worry, so you guys have this script, by the way, but I'm going to have you guys go through a very practical project once we've done some of the D-spill practices as well, so we can actually kind of combine some of these, so what I'm showing here and our D-spilling, which I haven't taught yet, and we'll combine it all into one actual full key that we do together in order to have that practical learning experience, not just watching. But I think it's better to just watch first, and you have the script as well, so you can open it up and click and exactly see what I did. But in order to secure that learning as well at a deeper level, we'll go through practically in a different project file. But I just wanted to explain that real quick. As I was thinking about this, you know, it's better to do rather than just to watch, but watch first, basically. Anyway, so this is what we have for a key so far, and we're going to fix the holes. So what I've done here is another little branch. So you can see, again, it's plugged into the original footage here that's denoised because we did that, and all the way over and down. So basically, I'll just keep expanding this. If I needed another one, I'll just copy this. I'll create another one, and I'll create as many of these as I need to essentially build the key up. But the key's looking decent. So the last part I want is to fill it. So I'm using a Primat. So we use that Primat technique, which happens to be actually creating some holes in the center, which is not the best. So I just used Primat, and I used our grade. So I've kind of graded it to be a really harsh key. So I'm not even worried about the edges here. I'm not worried about the hair. I'm only worried about filling everything up in the middle. And then what I've done is I've done a filter erode. So if you type erode and you select the one that says filter, this is the erode, and you can basically expand and contract that alpha. So I'm going to take this harsh alpha that we've created and just shrink the size in. So I just take the size and push it all the way in. So we get something that fills all the center areas, and we just merge that over our key. So I've used a merge max here. So it'll take the maximum value, which is our new weird looking shrunk key. And that's going to fill in the holes you see of our areas here. So I don't need to go manually rotoscope them. I can just create this really kind of harsh, ugly edge key, but then shrink it in a little bit. And that's going to save me a bit of time to not have to go in there and rotoscope every little hole. So that's pretty much how you can solve that. That's a core key, not too complicated. So one other thing we might want to do is kind of clean up our key a little bit. So if I gain up here, or if I gamma up, sometimes it's good to kind of clean up a little bit of that noise that's present in there. So like I said, it might not be too serious if it's just here, but sometimes you may have a little bit more noise than this. So let me see if I can go up here and let's just see. So if I leave this, for example, if I left it like this, where we have that kind of noise around, usually it's okay to have a little bit of gray around, like I told you. But if we can get rid of some of it, it's worth doing. So what you can actually do so here's our alpha, for example, and here's what it does, this little fix. So you see we're getting rid of the gray that's up here and just making it just around the edges. And basically how you do that is you just take the alpha and you make it very harsh. And what I mean by that is adjusting the black point and the white point to make another really hard edge key. And then you can erode that out a little bit. So I'm actually expanding it very slightly, and I'm doing another expansion, but I'm switching the filter to Gaussian. So you get like a soft, you get like a blur basically around the edge. So you see harsh key, we expand it, and then we blur it a little bit. And we use this alpha to mask the original. So we have the original, which has this kind of gray everywhere, and we're masking using that kind of blurry expanded alpha. And if we look at the result of that, and we gain up a bit, we can see we're just containing the parts that aren't supposed to be there to just being around just the edges. So we can get that maybe semi-transparent detail, but not have, you know, semi-transparent green screen or something like that. We wouldn't want. So I'm going to go back up here and turn this back on, because this was actually getting rid of some of it as well. And it was kind of solving a lot of it. But I just wanted to demonstrate that you can create those kind of, let's say, procedural garbage matte is kind of what it is. You're getting rid of the garbage automatically without having to rotoscope off entire sections. You know, you're trying to save time. So we can call that a procedural garbage matte probably. And so, again, I would go around and do this. So let's see, what is this doing? If I play this footage, some of this area of the hair, if I disable this, you see that there were some areas that were actually pretty light gray. And like I said, it doesn't matter, but this is getting almost white. So that might actually be a problem, because we're going to start to see areas of the green screen in that portion of the alpha. And rather than trying to just key this, a quicker fix might just be putting a roto shape and darkening the gray, but trying to keep the white the same. So if you put a grade there and I switch it to alpha or RGBA, you see I can just crunch just that area and plug it into a roto and basically solve some of that area there, so we're not getting weird stuff coming through. So these are just like fixes at the end of your key, basically. You have a bunch of little fixes and rotos to kind of clean up the rest of it. And then I have a garbage matte. So that is, it's just a roto kind of stenciling off this microphone, because we can't key that. It's a microphone. So like our original theory lessons, we can use a garbage matte at the end to roto out things that aren't supposed to be there. So I have a rotoscope plugged into a stencil A, stencil B, meaning this will cut away. And then I have, lastly, a holdout matte, which is the opposite of a stencil. So if there's any holes that our keyers are not able to solve, we can just rotoscope and bring it back. So if I gamma all the way down, we can see that maybe some of these areas around his head aren't supposed to be see-through. So I was just rotoscoping it back in. There were some holes that were appearing around here. So even here, you could probably rotoscope. So if you see, I'm gammaing way down to see any holes. So for example, I might want to expand this even and try to fill some of that area there, like so. So I would kind of go through and just double check that there's no obvious holes and solve that with some rotos. And that's basically it. So that's how you create an alpha using multiple keyers and using garbage mattes and holdout mattes to solve the other problems that come along with that. And finally, what you do is you copy this alpha that you've created. I'm ignoring the color again, just looking at the alpha. You copy this image using a copy node. So if you create one of those, we copy that alpha into the original picture. And you see that this pipe here is going right back up to our original clip. So we work to the left, we work down, we build up the key, and then we copy it back in right, back into this main pipe here. And eventually, using this main pipe, we'll merge it over the background. So the background will be somewhere over here. And that's the way we can, a structure you can use. But basically using the copy, we can copy the alpha into the original stream. So it's copying the data from A into B. And so if I hit A now, we can see the alpha stored. And when we're not looking at the alpha, we're looking at the red, green, and blue by just hitting R, G, or B, we see our original clip. So if I were to pre-multiply this now, it takes the two, multiplies them together, and you see that our alpha is being applied to our final image. Now, you see that all of these D-spill problems are very obvious because we're not working through one node. Like I said, if we were doing it through a key light, and I were to just go here and select color, it actually looks pretty good right off the bat. You don't see all those green edges, and you might be like, well, why can't I just do that? And sometimes you can, but I want to teach you how to follow the rules before you break them. And this structure will be hugely beneficial if you learn how to combine multiple keyers and then doing the D-spill separately. So even though this method produces more D-spill problems, it's actually a cleaner alpha than using just one node. And one node is never going to work when you start doing more complex work. So this is a clean alpha. Now we're going to move on to learning some of the D-spill techniques in some of the next lessons. We will talk about also just a couple other ways to pull keys that are kind of tricky. So in the next lesson, I'll just do a couple more examples of how to create alphas using different nodes. But you understand the concept now of creating these black and white images, building it up, copying it back in, which is really the most important part of this whole thing. So yeah, that's pretty much it.